Hey guys, so today, welcome back. I thought maybe we'd talk about tools a little bit today. And we're not just going to cover like brand loyalty and stuff like that, but just kind of how to find your best value if you're working in the auto industry and how I've found my best value, what I think is best for me. Doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be best for you, but all in all, I think it'll be a video that'll help if you're kind of just getting going in the auto industry, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer and you just want good tools or want effective tools or tools that are going to last a long time. So by no means is this video going to be factual. I mean, I'm going to get to, I'm going to say what holds true to me, but it's not necessarily what I think is good isn't going to be what everyone else thinks is good. Opinions are like belly buttons. Everyone's got one. You might see something in this video that you disagree with. Feel free to share. We can all have opinions. That's what makes it interesting. That's what keeps the market competitive, so on and so forth. This is just what works for me, and I'm hoping by me sharing it, it'll maybe help you out, maybe save you some money, maybe get you a little more life out of some of your tools. So, I kind of just picked my favorite tools today, and I mean, I have a lot of tools. I added up my receipts a couple months ago, and I have like over $30,000 worth of tools in my box, including my box at work. So, I kind of just picked some of my favorites, and we're going to talk about those today, so let's get going. So the very first tool I got today is an air nozzle. Now this isn't any brand, as you can see. It's actually homemade. I actually made this. This was back when I started in college. I was doing garbage when I was one of the oil change guys in the Quick Lube, and I found this, and I took our crimper for our pneumatic hoses and stuff that the main shop used, and I made an end for it. And the reason that this made it to one of my favorite tool lists is one, the length, but you might be thinking, well, Jarrett, you can buy those, and you can, but all the ones that I've had, that I've purchased, have been very safety regulated. You know, they only let so much air come out of the end, and this one, it actually is so powerful that it blows your hand back when you're using it. So I use it on a lot of brake jobs to blow off dust, and if I do like coolant flushes or whatnot, or something's wet, I can use this to spray it off, and it has a lot of air pressure. So some of you guys, you might have some tools of your own that you've made on your own that seem to help you get jobs done easier, and this is a perfect example of that. I'm sure anyone who's ever been in the auto industry professionally has a tool that they made themselves and that is very effective. So this is one of those for me. One man's trash, my treasure. The second tool on my list is going to be this socket. Now this socket, see that? It's a snap-on 10mm socket. I don't know how I found it today. It actually didn't get lost, but this one's actually magnetic. It's kind of dirty, but originally when I went to buy this socket, I asked my Snap-on rep how much it would be for a set of these. I wanted a whole set of 3/8 drive magnetic sockets, because at the time I was doing a lot of window regulators, window motors, stuff like that on Toyotas, and the bolts would always drop down into the doors, and I'd have to spend, countless minutes fishing them out. But I originally asked him if I could buy a set of these, and he said, I sell them individually, just like that. And I thought, oh man, screw it. I need the 10mm the most. I don't care how much it is, because I know if you're selling them individually, that means expensive, but I just need it. And I use this thing every day, even not where it'd be a big deal if I drop the bolt, but it's just really convenient, and I can go a lot faster if I can just zip it out and then grab it in my hand. Don't have to worry about dropping it, stuff like that. So again, Snap-on, so ridiculously expensive, but sometimes I think it's nice to buy a product that, you spend a little more money, maybe, Snap-on, it has the name on it, so it's a ridiculous amount of money, but you get a good value, and it's going to be warranted and stuff like that. This magnet's also retractable, so the longer bolt you get, the magnet will push up inside the socket. Pretty useful, use it every day, made my list. Next on my list, another Snap-on ratchets. Now, I don't want you guys to get this twisted. I'm by no means like a Snap-on fanboy, and I know some people are, and that's all they'll buy. Good for you if that's what you want to do. I'm not saying that I don't think Snap-on makes the best hand tools out there, because I like Mac too, but I think Snap-on, like this ratchet, really fine tooth count, if you can hear that. Really super fine. This is nice and smooth. I think the handle feels really nice. I think this is, and I feel like I sound cliche saying that, but I think Snap-on makes the best ratchet out there. So I love my Snap-on ratchets. Made my list. like I said, I'm not like a snap-on advocate. I'm not saying that, you know, you need to have snap-on. I bet 70% of my tools are snap-on, but not all of them. And, you know, there's actually some tools I don't like. For instance, they're pneumatic tools. I'm not a fan of snap-on pneumatics. Now, I'm not saying they're bad, because I think they're okay, but for the money you pay, I think you can get better pneumatic tools at a better price, better air tools, that is. Snap-on ratchet. Next on my list, and I'm sure all you technicians out there like me will laugh, this guy, the Streamlight. Super bright. Love my Streamlight. This is actually like my third one. I dropped one when I was ice fishing, and no one knows where the second one ever went. I've warranted a few switches, but for the most part, these Streamlights I think are the best pen light you can get. Use it every day. I actually pulled this out of my pocket for this review / tool video because I carry it with me even outside of work. So there's that. Next up, we got a Harbor Freight special. Impact sockets. And I think this varied from time to time where you went to tech school, when, because there's some guys that are younger than me that got snap-on metric sockets that went to the same vocational school that I did. I did not. For some strange reason, in my startup kit, they only gave us standard snap-on impact sockets. So when I first got into the shop, wasn't making a bunch of money, I needed impacts, and someone told me that these were just as good. Harbor Freight, I use it at home. I have mixed reviews on Harbor Freight. Some of their stuff's awesome, some of it not so great. These are awesome, I can tell you that. I use these every day. I have the full set. I just grabbed the 24 because I didn't want to bring all of them. But I actually just recently warranted my 21 mil. Toyota lug nuts are like all 21s minus the Tundras. So my 21 I've had for 3 years now was actually like chrome silver looking right here from the bottom all the way up because I used it so much and it finally cracked. I used that thing all day every day for 3 years, and I think that's where you got to be careful is stuff like impact sockets. Now, I mean, I realize snap-on, ooh, Harbor Freight, but it's a socket, it's a hunk of metal, and as far as impact sockets goes, I can personally vouch for these Harbor Freight impact sockets. Lifetime warranty, so it's kind of hard to spend the, you know, $4 million bazillion on the snap-on ones when these are lifetime warranted as well. And it's a simple tool, so again, I think it's hard to screw it up, whereas like, you know, something more complicated or a ratchet or something, I love my snap-ons, but this is the one Harbor Freight thing, Pittsburgh thing in my box that I would absolutely recommend. Like I said, I've only worn out one, and I think the set was $18 for all of them, from like 12 all the way to 24 impact half-inch. So this for sure makes my list. Great value. Next, we got another more consumer grade tool, and that would be the Stanley 3/8 flex head and adjustable locking ratchet. Now, this I also use every day, and I'll let you hear the difference here. Here's the tooth count on the Stanley. Here's the snap-on. So as you can tell, the tooth count in the snap-on is much higher grade ratcheting mechanism in there than on the Stanley. But I use this every day, and this is my oil filter ratchet. I use this on oil filters all the time. And I don't mean this next comment to offend anybody that works at like a Jiffy Lube or like a Walmart car care center, because there's bad apples everywhere. I mean, any profession, any brand, anywhere, there's people who aren't doing their jobs properly, but the majority of the time I get cars that have just been serviced there for an oil change. The filter in the drain plug is so tight, and I got this, the handle's fixed, so I bought this because this is what I end up having to do after they've been to those places. Time to take the filter off. Now, this thing has seen a lot of use, and again, this is lifetime warranted. I actually picked this one up at Walmart, and this is the second one. I'm on my second one now in about 2 years, but again, I use it every day. I just mainly like using it because of this option to get more leverage on those way over tightened fasteners. And you know, the tooth count actually isn't bad. It isn't bad at all. And like I said, I use it for oil filters, so I'm never really in a spot where the tooth count is that much of an issue. I'd say the only downfall to this ratchet is here's this pin on the side, which is what allows you to flex the head. Well, it actually rotates on a little gear in here, and there's a stub that sticks up, and it's pretty weak, so that was actually what happened to my last one. And yes, I was abusing it. I was pushing really, really hard, and I broke that little tooth in there that locks it into place so that it can't just sit and ratchet on you forever. But, so that is the Stanley 3/8 ratchet. That makes one of my favorite tools on my list. Couple left, we're almost done. Next is the Swisstool multi-tool. Now, the only real use I have for this at work, most of the time it spends in my fishing box, but this sounds crazy. This multi-tool from Swiss Gear has one of the best needle nose pliers I have ever used. And not on a Swiss tool, just like in general. Like compared to my Snap-on, the needle nose pliers on this is just as good. And I actually carried this at work every day, and I used it so much that the pouch that it holds into actually wore out through the bottom, so I quit carrying it, and I should just go buy a new pouch. But I mean, this thing's seen a lot of abuse. I used it a lot for tire repairs because you could grip just about anything with this needle nose. And it has a cutter down on the base here, and I've cut a lot of things that are way too thick to be cut with handheld cutters like that with this tool, and it hasn't loosened up at all. This one's going on, I think I've had this for 5 years. So, Swiss Gear multi-tool, I think. I actually got this given to me. They're about $120-ish online, made in Switzerland, so it's not a cheap one by any means, but definitely my favorite multi-tool I've had. The next one on my list is kind of a combo. Milwaukee Fuel, the brushless series 3/8 impact. I use this every single day, and it makes my life so much easier at work. And I mean, I've abused the hell out of this thing, and it just keeps going. Now, I said it was kind of a 2-in-1 part for my favorite tools because you'll see this is not a Milwaukee battery. This is an eBay knockoff, which I am never a fan of, but it got to the point where this is one out of many, many, many Milwaukee tools that I have at work. And I would have brought all of them, but you guys would have gotten bored to death, so I didn't. But this came with the smaller battery on the bottom, and I forget exactly what it was called, but it's the shape, the same contour as the handle, and I got sick of having to trade between all my different tools, so I went to buy some of these larger amp hour batteries for it. 2 of these 4.0 batteries from Milwaukee was like almost $70. So I went on eBay and I found these, which are virtually identical. They even have the rubber base on them, and these were 2 for $20. And at that price, I figured, you know what, even if they burn up in 2 weeks, it was worth the chance that they would have been good. And I've had these for about 5 months now, and they've been awesome. And I saw on the back, you probably can't read it on here, but the label actually had some of the same info that the Milwaukee ones had. So I went on YouTube, excuse me, and I found a review of these, and this guy actually took one of these apart and took the same 4.0 from Milwaukee and took it apart, and they actually have the same cells in them. So it's virtually the exact same thing, just with a different logo on it. So for $26 for 2, or 20, I can't remember, either 20 or 26, but 20-some dollars for 2 of these versus $70 for 2 of them, and they've literally been just as good. I even tested that against a guy at work that has the Milwaukee ones. There's not a difference at all. So I would highly recommend these. But of course, I would always personally pair them up with the genuine Milwaukee tool. Milwaukee is my favorite brand. Last is my Craftsman set here. Now, when I buy Craftsman, especially nowadays, I'm very picky because if you don't find the Made in USA Craftsman, a lot of their stuff has kind of gone downhill, in my opinion. But this kind of goes back to my whole thing on, yes, there is a difference between like a professional grade tool, like a Snap-on or a Mac, which I love, or a consumer grade tool. This is not nearly as nice as this. Can you do the job with this? Yes. Does this feel better? Yes. Will this last longer? Definitely. But I'm not saying there's anything wrong with these, but this stuff is definitely better if you're a professional technician using the tools every day. That being said, I'm not advocating you go spend all of your money and go into debt up to your eyeballs on Snap-on tools. You kind of have to take it with a grain of salt and think, how often am I going to use this? This is a perfect example. Snap-on makes these, but they're like $300 a set. This was like $60 from Craftsman, made in the USA, impact grade. But I don't use them that often, so I bought the Craftsman set. I use it maybe once a month, but it's one of those tools where if you need it, it's awesome. It's for stripped out fasteners, stripped out bolt heads, stripped out nuts. You can kind of see the teeth on there, so what you do is you find the size that fits the fastener you're going for. So like this one is a 14 mil. You take it, you kind of line those teeth up on your fastener, you take your hammer, you tap it down, and those teeth will bite in as you're twisting out and get that stripped fastener out so you can replace it. These ones, like I said, was about 60 bucks, but again, I don't use it every single day, so I went with the Craftsman set to save myself a little bit of money, and this is USA made Craftsman still, so they're a pretty quality tool. Last on my list actually just came here today, and I already opened it so I can't make a dramatic thing, but this is called the Form-A-Funnel. Now, that's just the packaging. Here it is. Basically what it is a sheet of lead. Yeah, so don't eat it. You might grow a third arm or something. But it's a sheet of lead wrapped in rubber, and it's just super malleable however you want to bend it. Now, the great thing about this is, especially like why I bought it when you work on Toyotas, I borrowed one, and the Tundras, the drain plugs are stupid. If you drained oil on any of the newer Tundras, you'll probably nodding your head at your screen right now. They kind of shoot out at a perfect 45-degree angle and hit the tire and make a mess. So this one, you can actually bend this up into any shape you want, and I put it up against the frame, so then when the oil drains, goes in here, trickles down into my bucket. Has a lot of other uses too. You can use it as like a parts bin. I've seen guys fold them up like this, throw nuts and bolts in them, whatever. I think it was $14. I bought it on Amazon, I believe. There's different sizes. There's a smaller one. There's one that's bigger than this. This is the middle size. But Form-A-Funnel is my last of my favorite tools. So I thank you guys for tuning in today. I hope you enjoyed this video. Like I said, I'm not necessarily a tool, like a brand warrior. I do like my professional grade tools, but I think there's a very fine balance between how often you're going to use it and is it really worth the money, and can you get a quality tool somewhere else from a consumer grade tool like the Craftsman made in USA, and I'll stress that because a lot of their stuff is junk now, unfortunately, or the Pittsburgh socket set. And my opinion is yes, and you could have a different opinion than me, and that's fine. That's what makes the world interesting, right? So if you liked it, give me a thumbs up, give me a like, hit subscribe, drop some comments below on your own opinions. I'd love to hear it. Otherwise, have a good night.